Hello everyone, it is me Sasha Kawaii Cat, and in this video I'll be taking a look at the drawing app Sketchbook. Similar to my Medibank Paint video, this is not going to be a straight up review of Sketchbook. This used to be my go-to drawing app for painting, however I haven't used it in years, so I wanted to see what it would feel like to make art on this again. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the sketching and character design process. The brushes on Sketchbook are pretty decent in my opinion. I was able to find a brush that I thought was pretty good for sketching, and I was easily able to sketch my character. For this design, I decided to do another witch. I've been drawing a lot of witches lately, and I think it's just because I really like drawing witches, which I don't know why. It's not even October yet. I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just really like drawing witches. So for this character, I think she ended up looking a lot like some of the characters I've done before. I realized that I really have a lot of things that I like to draw in terms of character designs, at least when it comes to the witches. I like a good skirt, I like a good crop top, I like the color pink, and a lot of that is on this character. But I mean, I think she still looks cute and she still has some things that are unique about her. So I do like how this character turned out overall. I think she looks very cute, very pretty. To briefly touch on the brushes, like I mentioned before, the brushes were pretty decent. I like a lot of the brushes that Sketchbook has. I'd say that I remember it having like a brush library, like an online library, like you could actually find custom brushes online and easily download them, but I guess this just isn't available on the Android version anymore, or it could be that I was just not able to figure out how to do it anymore. I do remember this feature did exist though. I don't think I'm imagining it or making it up. The default brushes were pretty decent though. I think the sketch that I did turned out pretty well, and I like the overall design that I came up with for this character. For the actual inking process, again, really nice brushes. I like the brush that I found for inking, and I want to talk about the stabilization for a bit. I don't know if I really like the stabilization feature on Sketchbook. It just doesn't work very well for me. Another thing I want to touch on is like the palm rejection on this tablet that I'm using. I did this drawing on my Samsung S6 Lite. I don't think this is an issue with the app itself. Basically, whenever I draw when I was inking, there'd be like a little dot that would show up when my palm, like my hand, pressed against the tablet. I had to really try to be mindful of that, and a lot of the times I just wasn't. And it was really annoying. I also just really don't like the undo and redo button, like the placement of it. So usually a shortcut that these apps tend to have is the using 2 fingers to tap and undo your work and like 3 fingers to redo it, your line art. This does not have that, and I don't like that. It does have like a shortcut. If you tap in the corner of the screen, you can undo. I don't even remember what the redo button was for that, the shortcut that they have, but it did not work that well for me. I don't like this. I don't like the way they do the undo and redo. I don't like it, Sketchbook. So the actual like cleanup process for this artwork was a bit tedious. The actual inking and like cleaning up the line art, it was a bit tedious, I'd say. But overall, as you can see, like I got pretty clean line arts. I tend to like getting my line arts to be very clean. I like very smooth line art, and I was able to get that done in Sketchbook. So it's not like it gave bad results. It's just like the process was a bit different than, you know, the apps that I usually use, and there's just some things that I dislike about this app. For the actual coloring process, I want to talk a bit about the color palette that Sketchbook has. I really like the variety of colors that this app has. There's a lot to pick from, and it's all very good. So I really like that. The color wheel is pretty decent. The selection tool is okay. The selection tool I don't really like that much, to be honest. I don't know, I guess I could have played around with it a bit more and maybe figured something out. I didn't really like it. I think what really saved me during the coloring process was the Lasso Tool. So initially what I did was I did a sort of painterly style coloring on this drawing. So I wanted to like try something out. So basically you can see me like trying to paint her face very differently from what my regular art style is. But later on, I abandoned this, so I actually colored this drawing like 2 times. The first one was a more painterly style. It did not work out that well. The second one was my regular style. And it's a bit interesting because I think I mentioned earlier that I used to use this app as my main painting app. Right now, I don't believe I could make a decent painting on this. I think eventually I could figure it out, but I have a more easier time painting on, you know, several different apps that I use regularly right now, like Ibis Paint X, Procreate, even Paintful Sigh. Just the thing is, it's not easy for me to paint on this anymore. I don't know why. It's been interesting sort of going back and taking a look at these apps that I first started to use when I first began doing digital art, because it's like I'm out of practice basically. When I look back in some of the paintings that I did in Sketchbook, it's like I think to myself, how did I do that? I know I did those paintings, but it's like I feel like I can't do that anymore. And it's odd because I feel like I have improved as an artist and I can paint significantly better in different apps, but I can't use this app that used to be like my main painting app. It's weird, I guess. All that said, the coloring was not bad. I think one thing I'll mention is that I was able to get similar results like what I get in other apps, like Ibis Paint X or Procreate, for instance. It's just the journey to get there is just significantly different. So there was a lot of cleanup involved with coloring in order to get the colors very cleanly inside those lines. It was a lot of cleanup. And in order for me to get, for instance, the shading correct, the shadows, I had to use the Lasso Tool, and I ended up doing stuff a little bit differently. I ended up using the blur tool a bit more than I usually do on this artwork. You'll see when you look at the finished drawing, but there's a lot more soft shading in areas because I ended up blurring out a lot. It's weird to explain, but you'll see on the finished artwork. Basically, the coloring process was just so different, and though I got similar results to what I usually get when I'm painting in other apps, when I'm coloring in other apps, it was a bit differently because just coloring in this is a lot differently. The fill tool also was just not very good. I don't know what it is. It doesn't work as well as other apps do. It's hard to explain in the moment, but basically it just does not fill up the area you've selected completely. There's like a rough white outline left. There's space left. It doesn't fill up your area. When you select that area, it doesn't fill it up completely. That's all I'll say. It doesn't work as well. It's if you go back and watch my Huion sketch review video, this app has like a similar issue that I had with Huion Sketch. It's just not as good as other apps when it comes to certain key features, like the selection tool, the fill tool, all of that. It's sloppy, it's messy. I don't like it. I guess that's all I can say about it. I don't like it. There's some stuff I really like about this app, and there's just some stuff that I don't like. I like the palette selection. I like the different palettes that they have available, the different colors and everything. The color wheel is pretty good. The Lasso tool is okay. And overall, I think the brushes are pretty decent. These aren't significantly like bad brushes. A lot of them are pretty good, I think. I was able to find like really good brushes to do my artwork. The brush that I did for my inking was pretty decent. I'll say that. I think overall, I just think there's a lot of things that can be improved on this app. Using this compared to what I usually use is just, it doesn't make the drawing process easier for me, I'd say that. It's like if I was ever considering using this as my main app again, it would have to be significantly easier to use than what I'm currently using. It would have to be significantly easier than Procreate. It would have to be significantly easier than Paintful Sigh or Ibis Paint X, and it isn't. I can get the same results. The process is less enjoyable, and that's no good. If you're not having fun using an app, then it's not the right app for you. I think you should use whatever app is significantly easier or feels more comfortable for you to draw on. For me, that's Ibis Paint X, which is why it's my main drawing app. Recently, I've been using Procreate a lot more though, because I find the inking process to be a lot better on Procreate, but not necessarily the coloring process. So I color in Ibis Paint X, but Sketchbook just isn't that. There's nothing about it in particular that makes me more likely to use it over those two other apps that I mentioned. But overall, I really like how my drawing turned out. I think my character looks very beautiful. I had some trouble figuring out what color I wanted to use, what her color palette would be. As you can see, it ended up being mostly pink, but I think the character still looks really good, and I really like how this drawing turned out. So that is the finished drawing. What do you think? Please comment below and let me know what you think of this drawing. How do you think it turned out? And please let me know what your thoughts are on Sketchbook. Is it your main drawing app? Do you use it? What do you think of it? Let me know what your main drawing app is if it isn't Sketchbook. Like, what do you use to create art? You can comment that below. So that is the finished drawing. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my art and you'd like to show your support, you can always join my Patreon. The link to that is in the description below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!